Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Heat Press for Profit Live. We're here on Friday, March 31st, noon Eastern Time, and we are so excited to be back from another huge trade show out there in the industry. And our topic today is all about our Atlantic City recap. Even if you weren't in Atlantic City, no big deal. You're actually going to get insights, trends, advice, what to expect from trade shows in this episode. And I have two of our team members on with me today, so we're excited to be coming live to you. We'll introduce those guys here in just a second, but if you're watching with us, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or in our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group or over on our Transfer Express Facebook page, shout out who you are, where you're watching from, and we're looking for participation today. If you have questions about the industry, about trade shows, I have some experts on the line, and they're going to introduce themselves right now. So let's start. Andy, would you mind introducing yourself and what you do for Stahls to our viewing audience?
Sure. My name is Andy Petrus, and I am the territory manager on the East Coast. I handle a handful of states, including Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. It's basically my job to guide our customers with new products, get them lined up, make sure everything's working out well for them.
Yep, and I love having Andy on the line. He is year after year the top heat press salesperson for our company, which means his customers are winning and investing in more heat presses. And I think he probably wins the, for those that are watching, the headset award for today.
Yes, absolutely. I found the biggest one I could.
All right. And then we also have John on. John, you want to tell a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Josh. I am Director of National Sales. I keep an eye on the dealer sales, the distribution, the reseller market, kind of help with, product to market and those types of things, and making sure Stahls is positioned in the right place, given, our customers what they're looking for.
Awesome. So we have quite a few customers watching with us today. We also have quite a bit of folks listening to this wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, because we publish one of these live episodes every Friday, as long as we don't have technical challenge and try to go live from a show like last week. But we attempt to publish one of these every Friday and bring in different guests on different topics. And so lots to cover here today. But let's shout out some of our audience. So Sherry is watching from Arizona. Good to have you, Sherry. Also, Mulkey Design watching us on our YouTube channel from Panama City Beach, Florida. Sounds like a great place to be right now. Yes. And then Minnesota's not too bad either, because there's a little DAC show happening tomorrow, and Brenda's Seasonal Specialties will be attending. We have some of our team members up there in Minnesota right now working that show. We have a Stahls and a Transfer Express booth. And then Jersey, we just came back from Atlantic City, and so Tanetta is watching from Jersey. So maybe we saw you at the show. If not, sorry we missed you. And Andy and I are in Pennsylvania today, so good to see you, Carol. John is out in California. I wonder if we have any Californians on that want to shout out and say hello to John. And we have some friends from Atlanta as well. So this is your show, as always, so ask your questions as we go throughout our topics today on anything apparel decorating, certainly anything heat transfer that we can help you with. And so I guess just to give people an understanding of what happened last week in Atlantic City, I know we have many new decorators or maybe experienced decorators that have never been to a trade show or an industry convention before. So John, you want to kind of give us the lay of the land on what a decorator should expect when they sign up and go to a trade show?
Sure. A trade show is a place for kind of your vendors to strut their best stuff, right? So they've got all their frontline products, all trending, industry products, and what they're trying to show: new garments, new colors, new decoration types, everything like that. So as you walk through, you got a wide view of a floor, and you kind of walk through different places, much like the Stahls booth. We've got a lot of different new items, definitely showcased there. So it's your place to see new things.
Excellent. And then Andy, like the types of vendors that are out there in the industry, like obviously they would see Stahls at the show, but what other types of vendors can they expect to see at a show?
Well, the best thing about going to a trade show is you're going to see an array of different types of vendors. So you're going to see your people who are going to show you stuff about heat printing, screen printing. You're going to find your garments and your hats at this show. You're going to get a wide variety of different looks too. I always encourage people to walk into booths, talk to people, find out about their products, and then take that information that they gave you in their booth and use it in other booths. When you walk into another booth and talk to another vendor, say, hey, this guy said this. And then that way you can get a good comparison of all the different things out there and then make a sound decision on your own.
Awesome. Awesome. And how many trade shows would you guys say that you've worked over the years? Any guesstimates?
I have well peaked over about 150, I'm sure. I've been doing this for 24 years. In the last maybe 5 or 6 years, my trade shows have gone down a little bit and I've stuck to the East Coast. But prior to that, I was at a trade show at least every month, sometimes two. I spent 2 weeks in Florida just because they had back-to-back trade shows one year. I remember that.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to be. John, how about you? How many think you've done?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm up there with Andy. I've been with Stahls for 15 years, and I mean, I can tell you, sometimes one, sometimes two a month. Sometimes you're going from one trade show to the next. It's funny because my kids say it's travel season, right? You get into trade show season in January and June and July, and you're waving as you leave in the plane. So yes.
Yeah, and it can be grueling, I know. But you guys have spoken to a lot of different apparel decorators at these trade shows, and we're going to dive specifically into Atlantic City here in the moment. But like when you think about a decorator going to a show, whether they have decades of experience or they're a startup, like what do you see with someone really making the most of the experience, whether that's the conversation or the experience overall? Like what are some things that you've seen and observed that you would recommend that other apparel decorators take note of? Whoever wants to take that one's fine.
Well, I think when you come into a trade show, you should come in with an idea. Have your business plan, and your business plan could go from having it all planned out and then leaving that trade show and scrumpling it up and throwing it in the garbage and starting all over again. But if you come in with a general idea, I think it's going to guide you a little bit better through the trade show. You're going to learn more than you asked for, but that way you'll have a good starting point.
Awesome. Yeah, it always kind of give you that that center to go back to, so you don't stray. Like it's easy when I talk to people at trade shows for them to be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I don't know how many times I hear that statement. Like I am overwhelmed with the amount of information that I need to consume here and the amount of choice. So I do think that's a great tip. Like if you have a business plan and you know what you're setting up to accomplish from a customer point of view, it's going to allow you to kind of like brush to the side the things that aren't really that important to your plan. Although we want to learn them, right? Maybe it refines our plan a little bit or evolves it. But it allows you to kind of stay focused on what you're trying to accomplish. If that's the stage you are in your business, where you're really trying to get to the next level.
Yeah, and you're always going to find new things that are going to accompany what you're looking for, or like I said, it may change your direction completely. But we can get you straightened out, and there's so much at the show, and everybody's going in a different direction. But we're there to guide you in all those.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool is we show up a lot of different places. We're going to talk about Atlantic City today, but we were in Long Beach in January. We're in Minnesota right now with our team members, and we keep our event schedule on both of our websites. And so transferexpress.com/events-schedule is a great place to see where our Transfer Express division of Stahls is going to show up. And then over on the Stahls website, you can hit the same thing. It's just stahls.com/events. A lot of those events will cross over. And just like we did in Atlantic City, we kind of had a bridge the aisle booth. So the whole experience was one. And so, at that show, it was just really awesome because we had this space, right, that allowed us to be able to engage with more customers in an education area. And so when we set up to do a show, whether it's Stahls or Transfer Express, we really try to make it an educational experience and an immersive experience. And so being able to do that is absolutely critical. And so like, here's an example of what you would see for those that are watching live, attendees in the aisle between the Stahls and Transfer Express booth. And we are literally giving live education during the show hours. And I would say that's one of the main things, right, is when you approach this show, there's a lot of opportunities for education. In booth demonstrations, sometimes on a schedule, sometimes just informal by different vendors. Also, during the show, almost every show we go to has some education track where you can sign up for hour or hour and a half classes in advance as part of their conference package. and get more classroom education. And then in addition to that, one thing we've done is create like a before the event education. So we did something this year called Stahls Pro Day, which I know we did in Fort Worth, and we also did in Long Beach and now Atlantic City. And we're setting up for next year's schedule. But what's really cool about Pro Day is like we go all out. And so every attendee that signs up for this Pro Day, they get a merch pack when they walk in the door. A hat, a backpack. In this case, I think it was some drinkware, and they get logos and they get education on how to create those products and create them right. And it's undoubtedly when we have a pro day, we always fill the seats at that event. And so Atlantic City was no different. It was a huge turnout. We got to spend a 3-hour workshop with decorators and really invest a lot of time and energy. So my tip would be for anybody going to a trade show, like education is one of the big reasons. Even if you don't have a business plan yet and you're just kind of in the research and discovery phase of your business and what you want to do, a trade show is a great few days to get a lot of information in a short amount of time. So highly recommend it. Check out those event schedules. We do have some friends here we want to shout out. We got a California friend, John Alice, is watching us there on YouTube.
Oh, thanks, Alice.
All right. We also got Albuquerque, New Mexico. Good to see you, Gregory. Thanks for watching. And Carol missed Pro Day this year. Pro Day was a smashing success for us. And so we will definitely be not only continuing that program, as Impressions is already committed to us at their Fort Worth show, but we will be expanding that program even more and trying to hit a lot of other different cities for the balance of 2023 into 2024. It's been great. And thank you all for showing up to that. It's been an awesome experience. So, you know, seeing trends, seeing products, seeing industry, like our industry is really, I'd say, evolving right now is the best way to put it. Like we're super excited because of the seemingly arrival of heat transfer technology at an even greater level. But John, what trends are you seeing out there in the market that are takeaways from the show or just takeaways from the first quarter of this year?
Well, takeaway from the show, it's funny because in like heat transfer vinyl, right? We were thick in the beginning of my career here at Stahls. Like it was thick, 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 and then everybody wanted thinner, thinner, thinner. And now we're back to dimensional and thick, thick, thick. The thicker you can get, the better, right? So the dimensional emblems and the patches and the heat transfer vinyl was huge there. And then the other thing is the mixed media, right? The mixed media with the ultra colored max and the products like the DTF going down first, and then you have stuff going on top of it like colorful glitters and holograms and stuff like that. I think that the mixed media and making that much more valuable product in the end is a huge trend, right?
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. Andy, are you seeing similar things or what would you add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Patches have become huge. We've seen that over the last 2 years. It's just an easier product that allows someone who doesn't have large equipment to jump into the market and offer something that, these are products that you see when you go into retail stores and you're able to produce them just as nice as by yourself in minimal time, minimal cost. And then, the high end price that you get at the end of these products, that's what we're all in it for, right? So, trends. I think that we're seeing, like John said, is dimensional. Everything's going thicker, but it's also looking at things that are a little bit different than the normal items. People love embroidery, and embroidery is great. You embroider a hat, it looks fantastic. But we have products like print stitch. I mean, you can't embroider something like print stitch. This is going to give you fine detail with embroidery all in one patch. And again, it's just heat pressed on. Simple, easy, fast.
Yeah, and I love when this happens. I got to read this comment right now. It's just so timely. So I think it's D or Dea. Thanks for shouting out. Watching from Lakewood Ranch, Florida. As they're watching this, they're literally pressing 478 hats on their Hotronics 360 IQ. Hat press has been a game changer for my business. And so I love that comment because at this show, like we've had the 360 IQ out now for I think 3 years. And that area of the booth, and we have to show 2 of them because one of them won't do. Actually, 3 of them between the Transfer Express booth is always swamped with attention. And so when you're talking to people around that press, are you seeing that most are just getting started heat printing headwear, they're doing another way and adding to it, or are they adding additional capacity?
I see a lot of embroiderers not wanting to hoop anymore. This is just going to be so much faster, and then they can use their embroidery equipment for a more profitable item while they're using the 360 cap press. One of the things that I noticed at this show this year that was different than all the other years is when a customer comes in and they're looking for, say, a heat press. Generally, we get them a heat press and we add on some different items to, just to make it easier for them. And the add-on sales come together. This year, the add-on sales to a heat press was another heat press. I sold so many heat presses, and the add-on sale was a 360 cap press. And it wasn't even a flinch. I was like, you need to get one of those along with this to complete your shop. And everybody was on board. It happened over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think that really, like, if I try to peel that back a little bit, that shows where we are as an industry and belief that heat transfer is in a lot of ways, a smarter, a leaner, and a better way. And the technology and where it's come with the 360 press and really, as we're talking here, testimonials are coming left and right. And we have somebody watching that was one of them that just dropped in an extra press.
A color splash. Hey, yes, that was me. Yeah, good to see you guys on the call.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. But I think that's where it's coming to, right? Is people know that heat transfer technology is a solution that is a must-have in the business for print on demand. And a lot of people think of heat transfer for ones and twosies, but when you compare and contrast, like the 478 hat order that got shouted out a moment ago, if we were to direct embroider that 478 hat order, how much time and machine capacity inside our shop would it take versus what we can achieve with the 360 IQ or heat transfer in general, where we can effectively do, a hat a minute. So big difference on the sales opportunities that you're able to say yes to with the technology. And so we got some return love for you, Andy. Color Splash says, thanks, Andy. You're the best. All right. Love it. All right.
I think the buzzword at the show, Josh, was efficiency, right? As you talk about that, I mean, everybody that was coming into the show was trying to be more efficient, and that's the add-on equipment, right? Putting two hat presses next to each other to be more efficient, getting a dual to be more efficient, right? And you heard it. I heard it over and over and over again, to where it became just part of, my talk to everybody was, you're trying to be more efficient. This is the way to go. So definitely buzzword was efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to do a couple shout outs, and then I want to continue on that efficiency topic here in a moment. We got some friends watching. Brandy, great to see you.
Hey, Brandy.
Brandy loves Print Stitch. Thanks for doing some content on Print Stitch and sharing that. Brandy's one of our Stahls ambassadors and customers. And we also have Skip on, who's another Stahls ambassador and customer. And he loves the 360 IQ. We have Softball by Fat watching on YouTube, just invested in a 360 IQ. Can't wait to learn more things. And Dave, so Dave was supposed to be on the episode, so we got Andy and John to fill Dave's shoes today. Dave got a little sick after the Next City show, as did a few of us. That's part of the gig. But he says, yeah, big profit potential in large runs in a short amount of time with screen print and transfers too. And we're going to get to that here in a moment. And Mike watching, our friend from Canada, efficiency equals Ultra Color Max. Man, I could go on and on with these comments on the testimonials, but I got to get to a photo here for those who are watching, and we'll describe it for those who aren't watching. And so this has been tagged as our Atlantic City Dream Team. And we put together some packages at the beginning of this calendar year based on what we saw and what we heard last year. And that package was called the Stahls Dream Shop. And we actually did some education in the booth, specifically on the Stahls Dream Shop package and what you can make with it. And this Dream Shop, it's on our website. If you want to check it out, we'll pop up the link or read the link here in a second. What's great about that Dream Shop is there's different levels. There's like a good, better, best, so to speak. And the good Dream Shops, like outfitted with a Hotronics Fusion, a 360 IQ, basically our picks for you to get started and build a heat transfer department or business the right way. And then you can move to, a better, which gets you a little bit more efficiency and some air operated machine, a little more control. And then you can move to a best, which is truly the ultimate dream shop package, which is everything you'll ever need to be successful with heat printing. So these 5 people all were able to help a customer to invest in one of those best packages. You may recognize a couple of these guys. First, I'll shout it out from left to right. We have Bruce, far left. We have Abby from our Transfer Express team. You see John, who's on the call here, so he's going to talk a little bit about this in a moment. We have Abby Thrash, who is new to our team, and she was able to help a customer with one, which was so exciting at her first trade show ever. And we have Andy as well. So when we think about this ultimate package, first off, somebody give me the highlights of what's in the package. You want to do that, Andy?
Yeah. So of course we get our Hotronix dual air fusion, the most efficient heat press there is on the market right now. We'll load you up with 2 360 cap presses, which actually makes sense. If you're a headwear maker, having 2 cap presses is perfect. It does take about 25 to 30 seconds to press a cap patch. So if you have 2, you're basically, it's almost like having a dual air hat press to get you going. We load you up with power platens on there, which is going to save you for scorch marks and allow you to do some of these patches on clothing rather than just on hats. And then, of course, we will supply you with your full line of interchangeable platens for these machines. So basically, when you get in there, no matter what the item is that your customer brings to you, you have a way to press that.
Yeah, and I would say, not that I guess we didn't have this equipment 10 years ago, and so we wouldn't have sold this package. But when you compare this investment, which is sub 20 grand, into like the ultimate of all ultimate heat press production, and compare it to other equipment like manual screen printing machine, direct embroidery machine, even a DTG machine, like you're getting in the door at comparable cost or less, right? To have the best of the best in heat transfer technology. So this is our way to say, decorators, you need to invest in heat transfer seriously as a department. It is not a lesser thing. It's actually going to yield a lot more opportunities for your business with what you can make with it. And so I want to dive into the specific customer conversations and not necessarily who they are, but why they chose to invest in their package and understand their story a little bit more for the ones that you were able to help. So John, you want to start off for us?
Sure. So one of the packages that went out, the customer was, he was looking for efficiency, and that was the whole topic, right? So the dual is easy because the dual, you're loading one side, pressing it down, loading the other side, pressing it down. The dual has that delay, so when it comes up, it waits a second if you're not quick enough, or you're moving it on your own, and you're lined in pressure because that air pressure is always on point every single time. So the dual is an easy sell, right? Or an easy topic. And then you move to the 360, and the customer at hand had one 360 in mind. They were going to, they knew they wanted to do hats. They knew they wanted to do patches. The old hat press just wasn't doing it anymore. So they needed that under heat to achieve maximum, adhesion. And after we talked about efficiency, I went back and said, hey, we talked about efficiency over on this side. Let's talk about it here. And that's setting up the dual platens. Press one, move to the next, press the other. So they really understood how they can turn something like that 472 hat job in half the time, because they're not standing around or waiting, because it's just that amount of time where you can't walk away and do something else, but you don't want to stand there and do nothing. So adding a separate hat press in there is key.
Yeah, reducing that downtime, right? That's the name
Yep.
of the game with this package. Is a lot of businesses that are watching today are either sole operator or very few people in the business. And even if they're a big business, they're focused on efficiency. But the point I want to make is these efficiency isn't just reserved for large production shops. Efficiency is actually really important, if not more important, to the small decorator, because time is their most valuable resource. And so if I can print that hat job in 1 hour instead of 2 hours, that's going to provide a huge benefit to me growing and scaling the business. Andy, other than efficiency, is there anything you would add from your experience with the customer that made this investment?
Yeah, like going into the heat printing business, it like I said, it's efficient and all that, but it brings in a whole new line of customers. I have talked with people for the last 25 years I've been in this industry, and we've talked about different types of jobs. A screen printed job of a 6 colors and they want 25 pieces, and the screen printers are basically like, no, thank you. I don't want to do that. It's too much work. I can't set that up. It's not going to be profitable for me. So if we turn away 2 of those jobs a day, and I know that we don't all have those jobs coming knocking on our door, but if we turn around 2 of those jobs a day, after a while, we're losing money. So now we have a way to do a 1-piece order in 10 colors, fast, efficiently, and then we can use the same process to do a 1,000-piece order. So it's keeping us quicker, but it's also allowing us to meet the needs of every single customer that walks into our store and never losing that dollar.
Yeah, I heard from one decorator that we worked with. They called they had a pile of shame that sat in front of the screen printing press because seriously, they had good jobs. Like there's a place for screen printing. It's not like
Absolutely,
heat transfer is killing screen printing. It's still important, but there's optimal jobs. And what was cool about that pile of shame is what they were able to do with the new advent of direct film transfer, specifically Color Max. They're able to move those jobs off the screen printing press, not have it clog up their time with changeover, and be able to produce them very quickly, very easily. Like the 6-color 25-piece job you're referencing. No way, right?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then personalization as well. I mean, we've always done personalization with vinyl, and we still do, and that's fantastic. But there are other ways to do it now. So we can take our personalization of that last name, and if we did a max transfer, we could make that last name have an American flag print inside of it. And the cost of doing that through Stahls is going to be the same as the cost of a standard player name. Just got to think out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, like we see in the comment that I'm flashing up here, 3-color or more jobs, done layering, cutting, weeding. Yeah, there's a place for heat transfer vinyl, but there's a place for screen printing, but there's also a place for heat transfers, whether that's direct to film transfers or whether that is screen printed transfers. And so one observation I had from the show is screen printed transfers have been around for a long, long time. They've been a core solution for a lot of experienced apparel decorators for a long time. But what I've noticed is a lot of the newcomers to the space over the last, let's just say 5 or 10 years, have almost come into the space a different way. They've come in through maybe vinyl because they started as a sort of craft hobby or were able to access it at a local retailer with the rise of, the Cricut cutters or Silhouettes or all those crafty brands. And so they have an experience for vinyl, but maybe never heard of screen printed transfers. Or now they're coming in through direct to film and all the buzz, or they came in through sublimation when that went on the buzz. But there's never really been this moment in time where screen printed transfers have gone away. They've always presented tremendous value to an apparel decorator's portfolio. And so when you explain screen printed transfers and the value of, let's just say, a plastisol ink versus the other options that are out there, how should a decorator think about that, and why should they care?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, screen printed transfers, basically it allows you to, do multicolored jobs quick and fast. I mean, a 4-second press on a screen printed transfer. But what I run into a lot with screen printed transfers where it becomes very effective is with repeat business. You create your screen printed transfers, you have a stack of them, you make 15 t-shirts for the local pizza place down the street, and their employee turnover is fast. So they're continuously coming back to you every month. You don't want to have pre-printed garments waiting for them because we all know you're never going to have the right size. So having screen printed transfers on hand makes it very easy for when they call up and they say, hey, I need 6 more shirts. And it also allows them to call back and say, I need 6 more shirts. You could have that job done in 20 minutes and out the door to them as long as you have the t-shirts on hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then go ahead, John.
I love doing screen printed transfers, right? Because when you are standing there in a booth and you're doing them, and we were using the tag along platen in the booth, but you're stepping into those transfers, you're loading up with the tag along platen, the tag, the front, the full front, and you're doing it in that 4 seconds. People are just amazed because they were over at the screen printer, right, looking for that manual screen print equipment that's going to cost them 15 or I don't even know how much, 15, 20 grand for a full setup, when they can have these in basically 2 days, 3 days in shop, depending on where you are, right? They're just, again, so easy to do, and it looks like, it looks and acts just like a screen print or screen print.
Yeah, and then if you think about the ease of use with screen printed transfer, there are a lot of screen printers, and I love screen printers. Screen printing is great, but there are a lot of screen printers that will tell you they have this slick polyester jacket that they can't put on their pallet because it slides off. It moves around when you're dragging ink over the top of it. Specific placement. Try and screen print the lapel of your shirt. It's just not easy to do. But with the heat press, we can hit anywhere on any type of garment, whether it's a bag, a pair of shoes, your shirt lapel, the back collar, you name it, wherever it is. It's a little bit easier to do when you have a heat press.
Within 4 feet of counter space, right? And so I think
That's
space
right.
is a big thing as well. And so I like screen printing. I think you should contract it out. If you want to get into if you want to be a big decorator, it probably makes sense to be investing in screen printing for those jobs. But in most cases, for the businesses that are listening, I think bringing heat transfer in-house, controlling that with screen printed transfers and all the advantages there in a small space, a very lean, smart, print-on-demand, reactive retail methodology is kind of what's happening in the industry with e-commerce. And then once you hit that big job, having a contract screen printer that you can lean on. And if you didn't catch the episode of this Heat Press for Profit live, go back and listen to the one wherever you listen to podcasts where I had Frank Good on, who manages the Freight Advantage program or the contract decorators for a big blanket apparel wholesaler, SNS Activewear. It's a great listen on why you need a contract printer. You don't need to own everything in-house. So we got a couple other I love job examples when they get shouted out. So Fran, thanks for sharing here. So 8 full color logos on the back of a 5K race sponsor shirt. Ultra Color Max to the rescue. 1 film, 1 press, 250 shirts out the door. Easy. Hashtag easy.
Easy peasy.
All right, that's a good comment. Thank you for sharing. And then Skip brings up a good point. Preparation is key. So you can stay efficient when you go to press. And I agree with that. Staging and making sure everything is there, and you don't want to waste footsteps when you're the heat press operator. Everything should be there, ready, placement specs, work order, whatever you're doing. And so you're really maximizing your time at the press and really measuring your time at the press. So I'll tease that a little bit as we wind up our episode. Please bring in any last questions. But we have this new series coming out that'll release on our YouTube channel actually within a couple weeks. It's called the Heat Press Transformation. So I love that name. And we set out and worked with one of the shop coaches, shop consultants in the industry, Marshall Atkinson. We've worked with him before. He is part of a group that runs Shirt Lab, which is another conference that we sponsor and go out to. So I'll be in New Orleans, I think, at the end of July, speaking at Shirt Lab. So excited to see some of you there. But we worked with Marshall, and we actually identified heat applied decorators that had a heat press department that wanted to take it to the next level, or really just get a look at it and a look at it from an effectiveness or an efficiency standpoint. And so this first episode's about 30-minute episode. He goes into, Andy, one of your customers, as you know, Campus Close. And Campus Close was so nice. They're a great customer of ours. They were so nice to open their doors. We paid to have Marshall come in and basically do a consulting visit on their manufacturing. And so we'll be doing 4 of these throughout the year, and we'll be releasing those videos out, which gives you a real shop look in how you need to be thinking about your production. So look for that on the Stahls TV YouTube channel. And you are watching the Heat Press for Profit live. Podcast is the same name, Heat Press for Profit, if you want to listen to any of the content that we've produced. So as we wrap up our episode, doesn't look like there's any other questions coming in. Anything else from a customer success standpoint, industry trend, product trends, et cetera? I think we covered a lot in today's episode that you would want to share before we conclude. Doesn't have to be specific to Atlantic City, just advice for our apparel decorators that are watching.
I would say keep up with your education, right? There's always new stuff and new techniques and new placement and new platens. And if you're not on our YouTube channel or your Heat Press for Profit or anything like that, you really, really should be. You should go to the trade shows. Education is huge. People want to be educated on new stuff. And if you're not in that mix, you should be. So.
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like John said, education is key. You come out to the Atlantic City show or one of these shows, you sit down, you're going to learn something that you didn't even know you should have asked about. So it's going to open up new paths for you. And then, we always have other products out there and other things at Deck Ratings. We talked a lot about, on demand and heat pressing and using max transfers and products like that. But, vinyl is still a very, very viable source of decorating. Vinyl is going to give you all those options to do the special effects, small runs, stuff that you could do in-house because you have a vinyl cutter on hand. So there are effects that you get like glitters and all that you just can't do with other methods.
Yeah, and we saw a ton of interest in the Chroma Twill product that we launched and got real life reactions at the show to that. So if you are using heat transfer vinyl, have a vinyl cutter, or want to order pre-cut designs from Stahls, we can do it for you. The Chroma Twill is one to look at. I think we're going to see a lot of growth in that one based on the response I've seen so far. And for just to follow up on the question earlier about the contract printing episode, it is episode 5 of our Heat Press for Profit live. And so it'll be wherever you listen to podcasts, episode 5 with Frank Good from SNS Activewear. Jane's still learning after 30 years. I am too. I don't quite have 30 years in, but I have 22 in and still feel like I'm learning every day. And here's where you can listen to new Heat Press for Profit episodes, buzzsprout.com/lots of numbers. So I'm not going to read them on air. If you're listening, you probably already on there. But for those watching, can take down the numbers. All right, gentlemen, thanks for participating in my Audible and coming on late notice and bringing some real value to our listening audience. What's the next trade show? Do either of you have a trade show on schedule that you're heading to where people can meet you?
I don't actually. There's not a whole lot that comes up to the Upper East Coast anymore, so we're kind of limited on a few shows. But yeah, just reach out to me. I'm always in the office. I'm available. That's what we do.
Yeah, and if you're in Pennsylvania, and just state your territory again, Andy, for everybody.
Yeah, sure. I work in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York. I only have part of New York, but don't worry about it. Give me a call anyways. I'm here to help.
And then, John, as you're talking about your next show, also talk about just our territory team overall and what they're in place to do.
Sure. So next trade show I think I'll be at is Impressions in Fort Worth. That's not like a buyer's show. So if you're not coming to that, be sure to come. And we do have a territory team and a market account manager team. So in a lot of the territories, they're broke up by state. And where we've got 2 people working in that state and there to help you out and solve problems if something arises. So feel free to reach out to us at customer service if you haven't been contacted by that rep and get that information on how you can get in touch with them and get your questions answered.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that Stahls does have a professional sales team that's out, not necessarily always in the territory, but responsible for the territory. Some are in the territory. So our customer service teams are unbelievable. And so the right way to connect with us, basic questions and orders, is the customer service lines at Stahls and Trans Express. But if you are working on your business plan and you necessarily can't get out to a trade show, but you want to talk strategically about the Stahls products, we would love it if you would set up a Zoom call with us. These guys have heat press behind them because they take live video calls. It's part of our service offering, so we can meet you and focus a little bit more attention to detail on your business, your growth plans, and make sure we're matching product solutions for you to be successful. So if you need to find out who your rep is, call into our customer service lines and they can make sure to connect you. All right. That's a wrap today. Thanks so much for watching the Heat Press for Profit podcast. And we look forward to seeing you next Friday at noon Eastern time. Take care. Have a great weekend.